Wizards, trading Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns.
Respectfully, I don't know how teams are going to guard us.
Hopefully everybody's feeling the same type of hurt, and, it has to be fixed.
The Big Three era is done, and I saw this coming a long time ago. There have always been Big Threes in the NBA since the 80s with the Celtics that won multiple championships with Bird, McHale, and Parrish, but they created a problem that no one saw coming. But what is a Big Three really? Let me put a quick disclaimer. A Big Three is not considered a Big Three if it's homegrown, meaning they develop their core pieces and not buy them. Golden State Warriors built their core team through the draft and created stars isn't a Big Three. When they added Kevin Durant, that made them a Big Three because you had two superstars, added another superstar, that's a Big Three. Now, that is not my rules. That's just the rules. The league was filled with a two superstar dominant team like MJ Pippen, Kobe and Shaq, Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Teams were built around two stars and rounded out with role players. Until the Celtics once again created a Big Three. The Celtics acquired KG through a trade, then signed Ray Allen. They won one championship in 2008 that Doc Rivers is still holding on to for dear life. After the Celtics won the championship, it seemed almost guaranteed to win a championship with a Big Three. But no one saw what was coming next.
What's your decision?
In this fall, man, this is very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
The Miami Heat with LeBron, Wade, and Chris Bosh.
Y'all team was cheating, though. No, I remember when Bron came to Miami, everybody was like, "Y'all, this is weak." I ain't gonna lie, this week. I don't. But I remember Joe. I was at Joe Johnson's house, and he was just like, "Why would they do this?" He's like, "This weak, man. Bron, he weak for that."
And players hated it because Miami looked impossible to beat, and that team was so overpowered, there was no way to stop them. Right. And the Mavericks beat them with one superstar, which is Dirk Nowitzki. Then the Heat signed Ray Allen for cheap and won. Then we saw Kevin Durant did the same thing.
And you depart for the team that beat you when you're on the cusp of getting to the finals yourself or ultimately winning the championship for the franchise that you've been with since you've come into the NBA. I think it's incredibly weak.
Kevin Durant joined the Golden State Warriors, which also shook the NBA. KD went to Golden State and won. Then he formed his own team in Brooklyn with Kyrie and Harden. Failed. Now he's in Phoenix with Booker and Beal, and he also failed. Matter of fact, they got swept.
Suns, it's never fun, folks, when the brooms come out.
In the first round, had no team to support the Big Three because the Big Three, they were basically handicapped with cap and having any trade assets. So they couldn't make any moves to even improve their roster. But the problem started here. When LeBron went to the Heat and won, that equals the recipe for success. He went back to Cleveland to team up with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love and won. Left for LA, lost for a few seasons, acquired Anthony Davis and won. Then the Lakers traded for Russell Westbrook and that failed. So why was it successful before and it's not working now? Why do they continue to build teams like this when it clearly isn't working anymore? The Lakers gutted their championship team to acquire Russell Westbrook and got rid of Kuzma, Caldwell Pope, and any other role players that could have helped them be consistent for a few years. They got rid of all of them, and that's why they're in a position that they are today. And we all know what happened with the Westbrook trade. It failed. The Clippers are always building a Big Three and they always fail. But I had to mention them because they're always building a Big Three, but could never win. The NBA CBA rule also made it hard for teams with a big budget to build super teams by limiting those teams on acquiring free agents and draft penalties. The league wants more parity, and that's what we are seeing now. The Big Threes that they are creating are not the best teams in the league anymore. The issues with super teams are they normally don't have enough cap space to build around the Big Three, so they can't sign any valuable role players. And the players that they do sign are either washed or they're too old and they're there just to fill in as bodies because they can't really compete. They're basically just building out a 50-man roster with a bunch of players that can't play anymore, or they're just not up to par.
Ain't got nobody.
They ain't had no money.
I know.
Because of him.
But you got it back.
See how I get blamed for everything?
Him.
But you always get blamed.
When Miami constructed their team, they barely had enough money to get any role players, and a lot of players settled for vet minimums, and Bron, Wade, and Bosh took pay cuts so it can work. And this is the same thing the Phoenix Suns tried to pull off, and it didn't work. This wouldn't even be an issue if they stuck to building around two superstars. Having success with big threes is why LeBron and KD can't win anything right now, because they found success in it and it gave them a false illusion that you only need a big three to win. They both were in positions with balanced teams to have longevity. Building big threes doesn't guarantee you success in this era. A successful team isn't building a big three, but finding what the team needs by building through the draft and acquiring key pieces that fit in holes in their team. That's why we're seeing teams like OKC, Denver, and Miami consistently being good. And I get it, OKC have just turned the corner, but how this team is built, I already see them going a long way for a long time. Throwing teams together mess up chemistry in the locker room, and it takes time to develop. Players are no longer taking less money just to win championships anymore. They want to get the bag. They want to get paid what they're worth. If teams keep trying to build these big threes, they're always going to lose. And the problem is all these new owners that keep trying to come in here and building big threes to sell tickets. They're not really looking to win, and that's the real issue here.